Welcome to Inspired, a PLTW podcast. My name is Marcus Painter. I'm the Director of Social Media and Community Engagement. And I also get to today host this podcast with some amazing social media influencers, as well as amazing educators and marketers. So we're going to just kick it right off with some introductions. I'm just going to go straight down the line here. Sarah, introduce yourself. Tell us all about what you do and just the back of the baseball card, if you will.
My name is Sarah McCambridge, and I work at Bishop Miege High School in Roland Park, Kansas. And I started there as a journalism teacher about 8 years ago, but I've pivoted. Now I work in their marketing department. And so when I made that shift, that's kind of where we have all of our project Lead the Way. So I've gotten to work very closely with those teachers just to share all the awesome stuff they do, and I've loved it.
It's a wonderful opportunity that you have, because you kind of have the same sort of job I have, where you get to run around with a megaphone and like find the cool stuff and just amplify it out.
Exactly.
Which is just, it's so much fun.
I love it.
I love that. What about you, Tom?
Hi, my name is Tom Pfeiffer. I am at Margaret Mead Junior High in School District 54. I teach 7th and 8th grade science and STEM. The Magnet Science program is an accelerated science program that I teach as a combo of 7th and 8th graders. And then STEM, I'm in the STEM 2 program, which covers 4 of our, PLTW curriculums. I've been teaching for 23 years, but this is only my 3rd year being a STEM seeker, so I'm still kind of learning and growing, and I'm having a blast so far. It's been amazing. Good times all around.
Typical educator right there, still learning. I've been in the game, and I'm still at it. Never settling. I love that.
Growth mindset.
That's right. That's right. Leah.
Hi, I'm 𝗙𝐿𝐵 𝗁𝐿. I work at McHenry Community High School, District 156. I have been teaching there for 13 years. 8 of those years, I've been a PLTW biomedical science teacher. I've taught all of the classes over the years. Right now, I'm teaching medical interventions and biomedical innovations. And I just really enjoyed being able to bring the program to our school and watch it really grow over these last 8 years and develop into a really amazing pathway for our students to be able to get ready for their futures.
Love that. Yes. So it's kind of interesting. So the reason I'm hosting this particular episode is because I came out and sort of stalked all of you guys on on social media. Obviously, in my role, I get to see all of it. I get to see all of the wonderful content that comes from educators like yourselves, finding ways to share the story of your classroom, of the work that's being done, of your students. So I get to see all of that. It's like the perfect thing. And so when I came up with this idea for this episode, I thought, who are the people that are just consistently creating great content that I see? And so that was you guys. And I, pretty much was like in the direct message, like, hey, Mr. Pfeiffer, what's up? And we've had a pretty cool relationship because we've been able to kind of go back and forth and talk shop a little bit about the content that you make and how it can speak to your audience and how it can, you can tweak it and so forth. So it's been a really fun experience to be able to get you guys to come in and travel and come be a part of this. I want to start with sort of the genesis of things when it comes to social media. Folks have feelings these days about social media, what it is, what it's for, what it used to be, what it is now. I personally feel like social media is a great avenue for PLTW teachers, any teacher, frankly, any education entity, to share the actual story of what's happening in classrooms and schools. Because when my 16-year-old comes home from school and I say, how was school? Cliche, right? She's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't learn anything. It was a waste of time. We know better. So I feel like what you guys do is really tell that story to the community, to the larger community, so that we know the truth, not just what our sons or daughters said. So Leah, when did you start sort of leveraging social media for your classroom and for the academic side of things?
Yeah. So I started at the start of last school year, so like September 2024. I started it just because we have a white coat ceremony at the end of our program, and part of that night is a slideshow of pictures. And so I was at the point of like when we would start planning that, having to scramble to find pictures and talk to the other biomedical science teachers I work with and have them message me their pictures. And it was just kind of it was an undertaking for sure to put together. So I was like, maybe I can just start an Instagram as just like a way to like keep track of all of our photos and have them organized. And then I can just know where everything's at for when I get to that point. And it really evolved from that. Like that is not even, I mean, it's definitely part of the reason of the Instagram, but it's definitely changed so much since then. Being able to really, like you said, like have parents get that insight. Just the other day, I had a student tell me that like, yeah, my mom took a screenshot of your Instagram post and put it in our family group chat. It's like, it was like so much fun. And so it's nice for like that instance. And then even too with like our 8th grade recruitment is a big deal getting in, because we're an elective slot in our schedule. And so being able to have those parents and those 8th graders see like what we do and how much fun we have and all the cool labs and activities and dissections and all the really amazing things that we do, I think is a really awesome selling point to be like, I want to take that class. And so being able to give that picture, and then even now, like with our biomedical program evolving to where we're incorporating shadowings for our students and things like that, I'm able to connect with alumni of our program that are working now, or just our community businesses in the area that are medical providers that then like can see what we do. It's kind of like a portfolio I can show to them. And then they're like, oh yeah, we'd love to have your students come shadow with us and hire them in the future and all those things. And so the fact that it went from just like organizing pictures for a white coat ceremony to like setting up potential network connections for my students and getting parents more involved in the school community, it's really like, I'm amazed by how much it's been able to grow and incorporate all of those different aspects. So it's definitely evolved.
That's great. I mean, that's great advice for, and I see this a lot with educators who haven't sort of, I guess, taken the plunge, haven't leveraged social media. Maybe they're hesitant. I think that's great advice. Is like, rather than, because it was a logistical decision on your part at first. It was just like, I'm tired of searching for all of this stuff. Let me get it all in one spot. That's so easy and so brilliant. And then the positive power of social media kicked in, where it was like, oh, it's doing all of these other things now too, which is awesome. Awesome. Tom, what about you?
Great portfolio as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So mine is more of a conscious decision that I made actually on the first. So I, like you, we talked about it a little bit. So I was kind of in transition where I had never done anything on social media. I wasn't a YouTube guy, Facebook, X, Insta, anything. But when COVID hit, it was something that I seriously thought about. And on the first day of V-Learning, the first day our Chromebooks had to go up, and we were literally sitting at home, no Zooms. This was March of 2020. And in the first day, I just kind of put the camera on and I shot myself on YouTube, and I made a show called The Science Seeker Show. And I literally posted every day, Monday through Friday, whenever the screens got closed. And I was just thinking of something to shoot that day. I realized that the classroom was not our 4 walls, and it needed to be expanded, and we needed to see the world of science all around us, everywhere. And we had to understand that you can still learn and see it from your house, from everywhere outside of your house when you step outside and take your walk with your family. You know, I'm making episodes about making, banana bread with my daughter for grandma to drop off at her porch, and how it's related to the procedures of the scientific method. And hey, my car's dead. I got to jump my car. Let's learn about electricity and how circuitry works. And it was almost like therapeutic way for me to survive and go through this lens and share my world with everybody. And we did that all of season 1 of the Science Seeker Show. And then that was 7 years ago, right? So we've evolved since then. We had hybrid learning the next year. Kids still hadn't seen me, but they were able to connect through the camera and through our show. And it eventually transitioned from not just me talking about all these great things and this wealth of knowledge that I've had from science and teaching it for so many years to, let's start featuring our students. Let's start showing what's going on in this classroom, and let's get them involved in as much of this as we can. And they became, the centerpiece of what is now currently in our season 7. We're trying to showcase the kids, make as much of it student-created, student-centered as we can. So it's been an evolution. It's been a very big learning curve for me, for someone who had never been involved in any of that. And it's just been great to have partnerships like, for me, Microbit and app inventor and PLTW to work with as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a cool outlet.
Yeah, we so Tom references the science seekers. I reference Tom all the time when I'm presenting, when I'm talking about things that I see out there on social, because you are almost solely video based. Lots of video, lots of short video that is, as I would say, easily consumed. They're quick, easy watches for folks. Easy is the wrong word because your students are talking about stuff that's
Yeah, it is pretty high.
way over my
Those
head.
magnet kids in the accelerator program can be
They're no joke.
pretty high end.
Yes, yes. So I will watch and learn very, very often. But I love that there's been an evolution with what you intended and what we see out there in the world. That's why, when I see content that's STEM specific, I'm like, yep, we're resharing that because that's, now you're teaching more than just your kids, right? Your kids are now teaching hundreds and thousands of folks out there who watch those videos. But I always use the science seekers as an example of the extent at which you could go, as I would say, go hard.
I mean, hey, I got a new job as a STEM seeker 3 years ago, and I'm in year 3 of that. So it was great when I had all this new content to put out and learn it. I mean, as we talked about before, being that avid learner, that lifelong learner, like this was a wheelhouse. We talked earlier, I'm a biology guy. That's where my master's degree is at, and that's what I wanted to do. So even going into the concept of what PLTW is, what it means, and what it can mean to me and my students has been just super fruitful. Like we've been able to grow and evolve as a class, and I think that's been probably one of the biggest things that I'm grateful for today.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, you are a unicorn because I discovered that you're the director?
Yes.
Director of marketing for Bishop Miege. Did I say it right?
You did.
Yes. You prepped me ahead of time. So you're handling all of the marketing, not just social media, but all of the marketing for that high school. Is that right?
Yep.
So then, having had your yearbook experience and then transitioning into this role and being sort of, again, that amplifier for the entirety of the school, what is it about the PLTW courses and pathways that get you excited to post something?
I think you guys know this, like your colleagues are amazing. And so it's almost easier to like brag on them than it is on yourself. And so we have 8 different teachers who help with our Project Lead the Way classes. And I just see the things they're doing and it's like impossible not to share. So they send me stuff and I'm like, okay, how can I get that on there? And I look back, I started this role about 2 years ago and definitely like similar, we had a presence but I was kind of learning and growing. And so I look back at some of the stuff I did 2 years ago and think, wow, I would do that really differently today, but social media is changing. I'm learning. And so it's just been so cool to like grow and evolve and see all that you can do. And so we do a lot on social media, but we also then get that chance with our website to do a lot of, I'm a journalism major, and so some longer form pieces. And one of our very favorite ones that we just did was a Project Lead the Way teacher. It's our 10th year of Project Lead the Way this year. 2026 is. And so he gave me just some names of some rock stars and like to reach back out to them who they've been like, they've gone to some really prestigious universities or just doing, one's working at a NASA base, and to be like, how did Project Lead the Way, how did these teachers, how did these classes impact you? And to hear them be like, I was light years ahead of my peers. I was, just able to do things and explain things to my friends in college and on the job is just really cool to hear. So yeah, I love the storytelling aspect of all of it and being able to share a story that people don't know about a teacher, about a student is just the highlight for sure.
Yeah. That series, I know exactly which post you're talking. I'm on the internet a lot. It's
Same. I saw your post.
for good or bad, but yes. But I beautifully done, great, and again, it's that story. It's like it's the how did this, whatever it may be, in this case, Project Lead the Way, how did it really guide and that path forward? And those posts, the posts I saw, they're doing great.
Yeah.
So because people, I mean, we want to see that. We need positivity. That's a great thing. That's something great to see. You mentioned, you hinted at sort of the process, and so I want to get a little bit in the weeds with process, because as I mentioned earlier, when I talk to teachers and educators who are wary of bringing creating a HOSA account or creating an account for their classroom, there's lots of questions. How do I do it? How do I start? I don't know anything about social media. I don't know what to take pictures of, all of those things. So let's talk a little bit about your process. Maybe, we've talked a little bit about evolution of the account and how you get content, but what's your process, Tom, in terms of like delivering the next Science Seekers video, or deciding upon a topic, or how does that look for you?
I mean, so now we've been doing it for a few years, right? We're in season 7. So because of that, things have evolved a little bit more. And I've learned so much over the last few years. And I think every year and every season I look back and I'm like, wow, I would have done that completely different. So we have enough content now to the point where I always know I get anxious if I don't have something already made or a lot made in the forefront, right? I don't want to be in that place. So I think one of the first things you need to do is build up and back build what you're going to do to have it ready to go. And I think that strategic planning then helps you in, move forward. So I've really settled in to using and reusing posts when I need to. I can go back to those old seasons. I can start throwing in some of the more technical skills that I've now gotten better with editing software, and that's kind of nice to revisit. I mean, some of those things, we've got kids sometimes in their COVID masks and they're doing demos for the kids that were, the Zoomers at the time. So it was nice in a way as a reminder, but also to just reintroduce some of where we were back then with, let's say, doing demos and labs versus I've made it more project-based since I've been in PLTW to get more projects out there, right, that the kids can display and showcase. I think making things a public product that they can be proud of is important. Yeah. And I think that pride that they get from that and the showcase, the fact that we have this platform to show their work now on such a huge audience is something that you can never say enough about that. And you need to always be appreciative of that. And just be like, you have to have a schedule of what you want to do throughout the school year. And I know my first trimester, a lot of our Science Seeker episodes are me on vacation, and we're learning about the world again and what's out there in some exotic place because you saw my house for 2 years in season 1 and 2. So we don't need that anymore. But then once I get by the end of first trimester, the kids' projects are starting to come in, and then I can kind of start showing all their stuff, and it's just having that schedule now built in has made it much simpler from a curriculum creation standpoint, and stress on me. It can be a lot of work. It can be overwhelming, as you talked about. I think you just got to be brave. You got to put yourself out there, and you just got to go out and start trying to do it. Like any good scientist, trial and error and experimentation are kind of necessary to get better and refine it.
Yeah.
And engineer.
What I appreciate about the focusing on students is they're truly the curators of those videos at those particular ones. It's literally a student sitting down at their computer, screen sharing in most cases, and talking through the app that they've built. Mm-hmm. And that's something, as an English teacher, former English teacher, that is always something that jumps off the page for me when I visit classrooms, when I see PLTW students. It's not just the technical knowledge of their STEM rigor. It is their ability to communicate what they know. And listening and watching your students, middle school students, explain in great detail with the amount of thought and sort of focused thought to present their invention, their creation is really cool to watch. Leah, so you with Biomed, there's a lot to show. And what I love about your account and how you present is almost every post there's smiles everywhere. So and I think we can probably notice this one's just like a ball of happy over here, which I appreciate. And it comes through in your posts. It comes through. So I'm like, when I see your posts, I always think, man, that must be a fun class. Regardless of what's being done, because the students seem really engaged in what they're doing. So talk a little bit about your process, because it is work.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of make that manageable when you're doing all the other things?
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna make me blush. That's really a huge motivator. Being able to look back, even pictures before I started the Instagram account, and I'll see old pictures of my students and being able to see them as they grow up. And I'm sure your Science Seekers show, some of those first kids are in college now, right? So for them to be able to see that and for you to see that, that's some of the most beautiful part of education is the watching your students grow and being able to yearbook it and be able to document it and have it as this piece for them to be able to look back in. And for me as their teacher, that's a huge motivator for me to keep doing what I do every day, because I get to look back at those pictures when you have those more tough days in education or whatever, and see those smiling faces and be like, okay, what I'm doing is important. What I'm doing is making an impact, and these students are enjoying. And that's that's the biggest part of Biomed, I think, in my opinion, is building that passion to be able to create future healthcare workers that are passionate and that are caring and that can communicate. That's a huge part, especially in all of them, but really the biomedical innovations when they have their independent project. And you brought up the genuine audience as a motivator. That is one of the biggest motivators I've ever found, is if I bring in a judge from just last week I had my cousin who's a certified prosthetist orthotist coming in and consulting with them on their prosthetic arm designs for medical interventions. And they were so nervous, but also so excited, because it was they're able to get real feedback from an expert in the field. And so for them to know that they have to have some design to show them is a huge motivator to do the best they can. And so also having that genuine audience, I never really thought about social media being another genuine audience for them. And so that's really something else that I'm going to start thinking more about leveraging with their account in the future. But I think in terms of the process, mine's definitely less organized than Tom's, but it's definitely just starting with what you feel it's going to help out whatever goal you're trying to accomplish, and just starting there. And the fact that it's only been not even 2 full school years that I've been doing it, and it's changed and grown so much, and I don't realize that really until having the conversations and thinking about coming for this episode, that it was a gradual thing, but it happened really fast at the same time. And so just kind of going with the flow and making it fit with you. I just, at the end of the day, I'll look at pictures that I have taken or that another teacher has sent me and make a post, and just keep doing that as things come in. Making a post is pretty simple, because you're just writing a couple sentences and picking out some good pictures and send it off and put it on your story. And then the kids start sharing it too with their stories, which is really neat. We have our Host of Future Health Professionals chapter at our school too, which is our extracurricular biomed related club. And with our school, the students can't run an official account, and so they create their own a non-affiliated account, or whatever they put in their bio, student run account. And so they'll make posts for host events they have coming up, and then I can just share it to our page. So they do the hard work and I just pop it over. And so that's another way that you can make it more manageable as well. But I think the reward of seeing those smiling faces in those posts is motivating enough to make the process pretty easy at the end of the day.
Yeah, you brought up a point. You're reading my mind, which is a typical teacher thing to do. I always thought there was value in, to your point about they can't have not affiliated accounts and so forth. And certainly age ranges are different. I've always thought it would be interesting or cool to, have a classroom or program account and have the students basically be running it, coming up with what they wanted to share from class that week, doing the work, taking the pictures, writing the copy, and then and having the teacher approve,
For sure.
right? You're the gatekeeper of the
Yeah.
actual account. They're not posting anything. But I always, if I could go back in time, I think that's how I would have probably thought about attacking it, when I was in the classroom. Is literally like a little team.
It's like running a paper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
like our
being
journalism
publishing house.
kids.
Yeah.
That is the exact model because it wasn't it was there and they used it for awards and competitions, so it was all them. But I would be like, hey, before we hit this, let's think about this. So definitely ways to gatekeep, but still be like, this is authentic and
Yeah.
all.
And that takes the burden off of the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
to some extent.
Yep.
And I think that's I've referenced it before. Folks that are hesitant, it's usually what I hear is it's so much work, it's so much more. I can barely see straight with all I'm doing to begin with, and that would kind of be my argument. Is like, oh, but you don't actually have to do it. Like, and who's savvy on social media? Probably your students.
True.
Your job is probably as gatekeepers to make sure that it's all on the up and up. But I always think that process is something to let folks know, folks that are watching or listening, is like the entry point and getting started doesn't have to be intimidating. I would also quick question on this. I always tell folks, if you can, split your personal and your professional, and that's intimidating as well for folks when they're like, well, I'm on Instagram, but I don't want people to see but like literally separate accounts, so that when you want to doom scroll, go right ahead. But then when you switch to your science seekers account, if you will, then you're engaging as that entity, which I think is hard to do when you're deep into it, social media wise. But if you're starting new, it's easy to kind of break that up. Let's shift gears and let's talk a little bit about, and you guys have referenced this in a couple of spots. I want to talk about how the larger audience views the work that you do. How's this? What do you hear from the community? What do you hear from your students? What do you hear from your students' parents? What do you hear from fellow teachers or people within the building about that aspect of what you do? Because I think that's a big motivator. And I know Tom's got plenty to say on this one because we've talked about it. But Sarah, when you're creating content, marketing content for your school, do you get feedback from the community? What kind of things do you see and hear from them about your work?
Yeah, I think it's awesome to, like, the amplifying is spot on because you hear things these moments that other people wouldn't have known, and they just start to become part of the standard vernacular, and you're like, that's cool. Like that it doesn't have to be this thing like, look what I did, but it's, oh, people are starting to talk about this, or they're talking about, our biomed classes even more. And I just love that because, that people are subtly being influenced and marketed too is my favorite. And then I think just one of the shifts in social media that's pretty cool to see, for the long, and again, likes are still, we want to see that people are engaging with our posts, but now with shares now are almost, I'm looking for shares more than likes. I love it all, don't get me wrong, but that people are putting that, this is so cool, I'm going to put the students putting things on their story is just the highest form of a compliment because they want people to know that they're a part of that. And now the reposts, it's been interesting to see what people are. So I think just kind of the shifting algorithm and what we're looking for. I heard someone rank, if social media were points, a like is 1 point and a share is 2.
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking about it like that the more people, you see all these impressions on a post that people have just shared far and wide, and you're like, wow, I cannot believe that many people saw this one thing we did in one classroom on one day. So that's,
you get to be a cheerleader,
Yeah.
right? That's how I tell people. I'm a PLTW cheerleader. I get to find all the awesome and then just do the perfect cheer to a larger
Exactly.
to a larger
Your
group.
voice is ample.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Tom, talk a little bit about your the feedback that you have gotten from this work.
Well, I mean, I think for sure it brings a strong connection between the student, the parent, and the teacher. And I think that's something we talked about. You're sitting at a dinner table with your son or daughter and you want to have a conversation. Sometimes it's not that easy. It's with, I teach junior high. So maybe they're not as open, right? But now when I'm emailing every week, like, hey, check out this new episode. It features, so-and-so and their work with this science investigation or this app they made. I think that opens up the conversations better, right? And the parents, because my kids are a little bit of a smaller audience, they're not in high school yet, so not all of them even have phones yet. They don't even have their own social media accounts. It really is kind of almost like a safe place / nice spot to create that cross-curricular communication between the three of us, if you will. So I think that's like the number one piece that I'm proud of there. And then from a STEM seeker and a STEM teacher and a science teacher perspective, I think it's really kind of helped us open up what we can do as a department with my colleagues. And I want to point out that my good friend Michelle Burke, she and I started together many years ago. And we have two sayings in our district and in our STEM and science department is, what would Michelle do and make Michelle proud? And Michelle actually passed away a year ago this past January. And she's my age. We started our careers together and she was my mentor, my best friend, my colleague. She started STEM in our district and was the leader of our STEM and our science. And I still remember making her proud last time I saw her in January about a year ago when we walked into her room and showed her our first episode posted by PLTW that was collaborated with by her, by me, and by you, Marcus. So I will say that in itself gives inspiration. It gives us that power to continue forward and make the world better with science and STEM.
Yeah. I vaguely remember I saw some posts sort of celebrating her. That's an experience that I had as a teacher too, is when you're sharing your story, you see the likes but when it's something specific to, in this case, Project Lead the Way, like it means something to be seen and to get the stamp of approval and so forth. And I've had that conversation with a number of folks about like, oh my gosh, my kids freaked out in my classroom when I showed them this, because it's like, it feels like a sort of like a celebrity sighting. Like,
I mean, when you message, I load it up on the big screen and show the kids. Like, look who just communicated with us, and they get stoked about it.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to know that their efforts are seen and recognized. Your students are doing the work. You're seeing them and sharing that out, and then it's just a sort of the next logical step is for the curriculum that you work with and the students you work with for that entity to let you know that you're seen. So I love everything about all of that. This is my thing. I just love it. As a former English teacher, we're all telling stories. And we just want to make sure that we're, to your point, Tom, telling an accurate story, and we get to be sort of the positive good in a place that can be a little bit wonky sometimes, which I get. What about you, Leah? What do you hear? What do people say? What kind of feedback have you gotten from your work?
Yeah, my students are so funny because they're high schoolers and they love to make sure I get their good side when they're in a picture or whatever. But like, they're also like, is that gonna go on the Instagram? Is that gonna go on the Instagram? Like, they're excited for me to show what they're doing, so that like, taking an honors elective science class is a big deal. Like, you're adding another hard class to your schedule that you don't have to. You're just not required to graduate or anything. And for them to be proud of that, I think helps to just like build the culture in our program as well too. Is like it's an accomplishment to be here, and like I'm able to share that with the world, and seeing like the analytics on our page, and see like tens of thousands of people are seeing these posts or our posts over time. Like that's boggling to me sometimes, that like we're getting that reach, and being able to share it with like our district Instagram page, they'll share it out too. So then like anybody that follows the district is seeing it too, and then that funnels some, people to be able to see my students and see the work we're doing in there, and just being able to honor my students in that way. And I think that's like that's part of like our teaching model, is finding ways to honor our students and their accomplishments, and being able to showcase what their hard work is again a big motivator to keep going with the process and everything too. And yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, I do notice that you get a lot of likes on your posts, and I think that's a testament to not just creating the thing. I always sort of make the analogy, it's when you post something, it's sort of like you took a grenade, you pulled the pin, and then it's like, well, let's see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen at this point. Is it going to resonate? Is it not? But I think what I see with all of your content is that it comes from an authentic and genuine place. It celebrates students, and what you said was really important and powerful to me, which is when the students are excited about basically sharing their shine, if you will. Same deal, like, get my good side. Is this going? Like, that is exactly how it ought to be, because they're not like, ew, no. Generally, I'm sure you've got a couple, but there are some, but broadly speaking, like, they're kind of bought in. And I think that's a great testament to what you do in your class when it's not on Instagram, is students trust you. They want to be celebrated, and they're willing to sort of play along. Okay,
Sometimes
fine,
I
you're
feel
gonna take
like
a picture.
the mom on vacation,
Yeah.
running around my classroom, but like I have that pride like a parent would have in my students. So
Yeah.
it's fitting.
Yeah, it's so good, and like I said at the beginning, you are three examples of thousands, right? The community of Project Lead the Way educators and schools and districts is huge, and there are plenty of other folks that are doing similar work, but I thought it was super important to be able to say to anyone who watches and listens, like, it's not just doing something on social, like, it's bigger than that. And I think all of you show that in unique ways, celebrating of education, celebrating of the process of learning, the evolution of content, all of that comes through, and it's a great thing to see from my seat as a former English teacher turned techie type, turned social. We're not gonna talk about age, but let's just say I didn't major in social media. That's all I'm saying. But really, what is it? It's telling a story, and so you guys do an amazing job with that. I want to hear from all of you. If you were to, let's say it's the teacher next door to you, or a teacher at a neighboring district or school, a fellow marketer, what advice would you give them if they're in that position where you talked about, where it's like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if it's worth making that effort? What advice, Sarah, would you give to folks in your position on how to sort of like make it all doable?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of it's funny because it's a tech job, but I'm actually kind of low tech in my planning. So I've tried the Google calendars and things. I mean, I use those for lots of other things, but for this, just like a big desk calendar has just been so good for me with social media, to see like, here's what I want to post this week, but then with things going on, maybe I'm shifting things around because this one feels more right today. So yeah, the planning process, but then I would say, for me, what was most overwhelming was video content. Like pictures, I felt really good to like, okay, I can be the vacation mom and put these on, but I was overwhelmed if my videos needed to be, on a professional camera or these things. And so, yeah, one of my mantras is just like done is better than perfect.
Mhm.
And I think people get really overwhelmed that it has to be really polished. And with AI and with everything going on, people are resonating with like genuine content on social media, and it doesn't have to be as polished. So like maybe you don't want to make a big reel, but if we have this super cool project studio in our school, they'll launch their CO2 cars, which is one of the units. They'll launch their CO2 cars down the hallway. They send me a 5-second video. I put it on a story, and like people are loving watching that. So just there can be truly such simple videos that you can put in a story. And then I've just had a lot of luck. Instagram has templates. They have real templates, and you can make a very professional looking reel in like 5 minutes or less with those. So that would be just to explore those, because making a video from scratch is where, the time. So the de-stress the video content would be my advice.
I like the calendar, the physical calendar thing. That's real. There's lots of folks that are in a very techie space, and they're not on the iPad or they're scribbling in like a good old fashioned notebook, or like the lesson plans, right? I mean, everybody knows you plan out your lesson plan for whatever the week, however ahead you can possibly get. But I invariably was doing that on a notebook, and then every day it was like bracket, arrow down, bracket, arrow. I didn't get to that. So it's a lot easier to do that, sort of in the old school way. But I appreciate that. Tom, what about you?
You know what? I think it's someone that kind of did not do a lot of this personally and jumped into it professionally. I think you just have to be brave, and you just need to try something new, right? And have fun. Most importantly, have fun. This is supposed to be fun. And I would say let the kids lead the way, right? We talked about that already, but it's supposed to be not an extra job, right? This is supposed to be something that you get meaning from and they get meaning from. And I think if you go into it that way, and you know it's not going to be perfect, you can't plan every little thing and edit out every little piece of it, like we talked about. These camera shots that are one takes from when they first started to like what they are now is great, and they're different. And I think that it just brings more authenticity to the game when you are just having a good time with the students, and then the kids can see that, and it's your passion shining through, and we want them to see those passions and teach those to a larger audience as well. So they'll lead the way. Let them do it.
Absolutely. Leah, what about you? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, like, don't view it as enough, like, you don't have to do this, right? So, like, there's no pressure as to, like, I've got to meet deadlines for this post, or, like, I've got to make sure I capture this. Like, it's like a hobby, I kind of feel of it in a way, where it's, like, just your passion project. I personally think Instagram is a great place to start because it's pretty user-friendly, and I think it also spans our generations, where, like, parents have Instagram and my students have Instagram. But, like, other social media platforms, there's kind of more of a divide in terms of the generations and who's using what. So I think Instagram is one of the more universal, accessible ones amongst those different age ranges that you're trying, depending on your audience, but if you're trying to reach that breadth of audience, I think Instagram is a good one. And like, if I only have time to post some pictures in a day, like, that's what I post. And like, if I use those real templates because it makes it look like I'm a social media influencer, but like, I know you call this those, but I'm definitely not. You don't have to like live up to that influencer, like, highly produced thing, because I think, like you said, people are definitely looking for more of that authentic, and education isn't a business. Like, we are authentic people, and we're just trying to show our authentic passion for what we do and what our kids are doing. So I think, like, when I have some videos of something cool we did and I have a little extra time, I'll pull up one of those real templates and put it together, and I'm like, oh, look what I did. Like, I didn't actually do it, but like, I did it. And so it's just, I think, you don't put pressure on yourself to have to meet some expectation. Just do what you want to do with it. If you don't post for a few weeks or even whatever, like, no big deal. Like, then just pick it back up when you have time again. And I think that you'll surprise yourself a little bit as it grows, and like that you don't have to be some super tech savvy person that knows all these different things. Literally just hit the post, follow the steps, and go, and you'll as you look back on the things that you've done throughout the years you guys have been doing it too, and you see how that grows and stuff too, that you will also grow. And we want our students to always be learning, and this is just another way that as a teacher you can be an example of that lifelong learner aspect. So just have fun with it.
Yeah, you're spot on about Instagram too. I feel the same way, as that's kind of a sweet spot, certainly for, I feel, for education broadly, but particularly Project Lead the Way. Like everything that PLTW students and teachers are doing are all very often very visual things. It's we built a thing, we created a thing. Here's the scribbled out blueprint of the design of the thing we want to build and make. All of the hands-on things that happen in a biomed class, we're pipettes, we're whatever. So it's all very visual, and so it just makes good sense. And you're exactly right with the audience. Get just enough of the parents, and probably most of the kids. And I love that the sort of the investment and the sort of buy-in vibe that all of you guys have been able to establish with your schools, your peers, your classrooms and students, and then the further community. Because again, it goes back to letting the larger community see the sort of the warts and all of what happens in a typical classroom, and then go ahead and lean into that. The perfect video, not a thing. No, don't need it. I'm with you there. I'm with you. Some of my favorite posts that I see, particularly video posts, are the ones where it sounds like there's just that low buzz of learning. And we talk about it here at Project Lead the Way all the time, that you want to find the Project Lead the Way classroom in a school, just follow the volume. Because there will be volume there. There will be sound there, because they're doing some serious engaged learning there. We're not sitting in desks staring at a piece of paper or a book. So you guys do a great job of exemplifying that. I want to thank you all for traveling all the way to headquarters here in Indianapolis. I'm so glad that we were able to kind of share your stories. Hopefully you guys have inspired a whole new group of Project Lead the Way folks to take the plunge and share some things out to the world and sort of celebrate things. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. That brings us to an end of another episode of Inspired, a PLTW podcast. We'll see you next time.